Good morning, my loves. How are you? Getting started here. So good to be here in Quantum Creators. Welcome, welcome, folks. So good to have you here. We are live talking about cash flow this morning, like cash flow and an overflow of cash flow. What does it take to be swimming in the money? What does it take to feel good about swimming in the money? What does it take to be deeply satisfied in terms of your creations? So, welcome, welcome. As always, I'm going to set up my phone here. I want you to ask yourself, too, if you can hear me, if you can see me, if you could just comment on that, that would always be appreciated. I always bring up my phone because I don't always see the comments. So I always want to welcome you in. Hello, who's with me this morning? Do say hi. Oh, look, that's me getting feedback on my own video. So, hi, Jerry, how are you? Hi, Kylie. Hi, Jenny. How are you, ladies? I'm excited to be here and talk to you about this. The journey of knowing yourself, folks, and understanding how reality works and making it work for you. So, I have a question for you straight up. Are you willing to let go of your rational mind and things making sense in order to experience miracles? Now, I believe one of my greatest attributes that has served me very well in the creation of my life and in creation of more money is curiosity, right? Like I used to live next to the beach and it was Rocky Beach, and I would spend hours on the beach lifting up a rock. And we call them cat's eyes here, but you'd pull them and then they'd kind of disappear, or limpets, which are actually really hard to get off, right? But the curiosity, or finding crabs, right? Like being willing to look under all the rocks to figure stuff out, to be curious, to go, how does this actually work? If you want to live in cash overflow, you want to be willing to be curious about how you work, because mastering money, folks, is mastering self. Your reality is a reflection of your frequency. Now, please, when you listen to this, don't make yourself wrong. Let's put all the wrongness to the side, because I know sometimes when people are listening to stuff like this, they can be like, oh, I feel like I'm doing it wrong, or I don't feel good in this area of my life, or, this is upsetting me or pissing me off, right? Please just bring the energy of acceptance to all of that, curiosity perhaps, and be willing to know there's nothing wrong with you. Like, if you're not creating what you want in your life, it is because you have probably accepted limitation from the external world. And this planet is kind of created for that. Even having a body can feel like a limitation, right? And you're this infinite being, and you're like, how do I make this work, right? In this reality where I'm living an extraordinary reality because I have cracked the code in terms of who I am and the power I hold and how I can impact reality. Right? Like, I just find this so wildly exciting. Like I was always the kid who was like, show me, right? Like, look behind the curtain, let's see what's there. And I'm sure you have that too. I think it's an innate desire for everybody to want to know who they really are and to be a person who can live an extraordinary reality because they figured it out, right? They cracked the code on who you are. So let me ask you a question. Hi, Karen. How are you? Lovely. Hi, Jenny. Morning, Margaret. How are you? I want to ask you guys, to what level do you feel like you're living in overflow? Right? Because often too, right? One of the first things we have to do if we want to experience cash overflow in our life, because this is universal law, this is how it works. The universe can't give you what you don't have, meaning you need to be it on the inside out. And you all know this, right? You can't show up in scarcity and expect abundance to show up. Elementary 101 manifestation. But how do you have something that you can't necessarily see in your reality yet? That is the work, right? That is the work of the calibration. So, to what level do you feel like you're actually already living in overflow? Now, what's really helpful here is to start looking at things that are in overflow, things that maybe you're already taking for granted. Would you say the fact that you can get up, have a hot shower, turn on the lights, that perhaps that's an overflow? It's not limited as long as you're paying your power bill, right? It doesn't run out. That is access to something that maybe even some other people don't have. And again, this is about the perspective shift. Can I see where overflow is already in my life? Because what it's going to do is it's going to bring forward gratitude, and gratitude is always the correct perspective. Where else are you experiencing overflow? Do you know that you have people in your life that you can reach out and say, hey, I need some help? Maybe it's even only one or two people, but you know that they're your ride and die. That is a version of overflow, of abundance, that you have that. What we want to do is recognize where you're already experiencing overflow and bring it into your money. I can tell you right now, one place where you have overflow until your time's up is your breath. You don't think about it, it just happens, right? Unless you've got bronchitis or something, right? Like you are just in the energy of it. It just keeps on happening. I don't need to think about it. That's the place that you want to get to with your embodiment of overflow. It just happens. And the irony is, right, we have to notice where our attention is, maybe do some work to shift our attention, but calibrate it so we are literally in the energy of having embodied it. So let's play with this fun because it's the best fun ever. What would be happening in your reality if cash overflowed? What would you be doing with it? Does that feel overwhelming? Do you feel like, oh my goodness, I'd be able to do this and this, I'd be able to go traveling, I'd be able to buy that house that I wanted? I want you to think about it like a fountain that just kind of keeps replenishing itself and it just keeps on coming. Does the money know where to go in your reality right now? Does it have a direction? Do you know what you want? Is probably a better way to answer that. This is important, folks. If you don't have clarity, money can't show up. You think about it, and again, there's often a lot of analogies in business and in manifestation with dating. You know, if you go on a date with somebody and they're just casual and you want long term, that's not a match. But if you go on a date and they're long term too, you know that you're moving together in the right direction, right? Like you know that there's synergy there. You want to do this with your money as well. And I want you to notice how you feel about your desires, because the calibration piece is to bring the energy of they are inevitable. Not like, oh, maybe that would be nice. The universe doesn't really respond to that energy, you might have noticed. Oh, it's a nice idea. No, baby, we want to ground it into our 3D reality. We want to take it and make it inevitable. And that doesn't happen by anything in the external. It happens by you and your frequency. So your frequency, of course, is your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions, huge part of your frequency, right? Your perspective, what you focus on, right? Your self-perception, that is huge. Do you believe that you are worthy of having all your desires? Now, your brain might say yes, but your subconscious might be like, oh, I don't know, right? Because one of our greatest fears as humans is that we're not enough, that we're not good enough. And we can do funny things where we're like, I need the money to prove that I'm worthy, as opposed to knowing that you are worthy no matter what the money is doing. Right? And to be a person who's really understanding the mechanics behind creation, so you can become this person that it's comfortable and easy and natural to live in overflow. Now, often what happens, folks, too, is when people hear this, they're often in the energy of a bit of being skeptical, right? A bit of disbelief, because they have been imprinted with limitation. This is why having proximity and environments where people are choosing to be limitless is so freaking important for you to cultivate the frequency where you're creating the outcomes that you want. Like just in the mastermind, like I've got 6 beautiful women in my mastermind at the moment. I worked out the numbers, and this is only from 4 people. There's another 2 people who I don't have the numbers from. In the last 4 months, 4.5 months, January, how's my math? $405,000 has been generated. Now, why do I say that too, folks? Because often, depending on where you're at in your journey with wealth, you're not being exposed to these kind of numbers. It's not normal, and you want to make it normal. If it's going to overflow, it's going to be normal for it to overflow, right? It's going to be normal that it just keeps on coming. It's going to be normal to have big money in your field. It's going to be normal for big money to show up for you. You need to normalize it. And you need to hear these numbers and know that they're available for you too. That you get to have that experience, that you get to be that person. Like I shared the group total and I said to everybody, please choose to embody this number as your own to normalize it into the field. Now, often too, folks, the world is kind of intense, right? Like there's a lot of stuff happening out there. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to end up focused on the things that don't serve you. It's easy to get drawn into narratives that don't serve you. Like so many times on the internet these days, I'm like, no, 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 no. Because people are having conversations that just serve no freaking purpose. Like, I don't know if you're in the coaching industry, like people are talking about like Tony Robbins or, Alex Hormozi took down this video. Who cares? That's not helping you to create the outcomes that you want. You need to be like ruthlessly focused on what you want to create for yourself. And you have to understand that doesn't make you selfish or greedy. You being happy, being in joy, being in extended levels of freedom is a gift to humanity. You being in massive wealth and massive abundance is a gift to your family, to your friends, to your colleagues, to everyone around you. It gives you the opportunity to be more generous. It gives you freedom. It gives you choice. It is a gift. And it is actually your natural state of being. Right? Like I talk about this often, right? Like Jesus didn't walk around with an ATM card. He just knew that he was connected to God consciousness and could create abundance like that. He knew it because he had it inside of him. It was through his connection, right? So often one of the first things that we need to do to be living in a cash overflow is take our attention off the external world and start asking ourselves questions like, oh, who am I being today? Have I cultivated a feeling? And let me give you an example, which is perfect, because this morning I woke up and I felt grumpy, right? I was not in a good mood. And I started making my coffee and I was like, but this is what I do, right? I code my field every day. Like I literally said to myself, because I'm a coach, I said, okay, what are we going to do to shift this, right? Of course, go to my process, go to my ritual. Sit down and shift the energy. Now, what happened? Probably about 5 minutes in, I had a good cry, right? I'm not afraid of my feelings. There's nothing wrong with crying, right? I'm in loving acceptance of that. But you know what was so beautiful about that? I made space for it. I didn't shove it under the carpet and pretend that everything's okay and then soldier on and walk throughout my day going, oh, there's nothing wrong, when there's this feeling inside of me that's looking to be seen and witnessed. It's looking for my loving attention. And I gave it my loving attention and it shifted. And here I am now, able to show up, able to give, able to be in enthusiasm because I honored myself. Now that's just part of coding the field, right? But coding the field every day so cash overflow becomes your new normal. And big part of this work, folks, is you can't look to the past to create the future. You have to kind of clean slate yourself and go, all the limitation that I picked up from the past, I don't have to take it into my future. I can start being that person now who's experiencing more because I'm going to shift my frequency, my thoughts, my beliefs, my emotions, right? My focus, my perspective, my perception of myself, and my level of conviction. Like certainty, folks, is sexy for cash overflow. If you are kind of like in the energy of like, oh, I wish or I hope, you need this. You need to start commanding the universe. Because what people fail to understand, you are God in a body. And I know, right? That sounds like, oh my goodness, that's huge. But often what's happening is people are operating from the limitation of being human rather than activating this energy of limitlessness. Now, what happens for people too is when we start activating these frequencies, they can feel quite heady, right? Very exciting to the physical body. But what can come up at the same time is disappointment. All the times and places from the past, right? And this is why we need to clean the slate so you can move into a future where disappointment isn't present, where you're not taking the energy of disappointment and putting it into your future, into the timeline, into the frequency, or where trust has been broken. You know what this does for people, folks? It just destroys their desire. Right? A lot of times people hear the word desire and they think sexually. Desire is just wanting something. Right? It's desiring to have the experience of it. There's nothing wrong with desire. Now, desire gets tricky when you get attached. When you're like, I need to have this thing in order to be okay, in order to be happy, right? We have to learn to let go of the attachment and to enjoy our desires, but also choose for them to be inevitable because you're going to choose to live in overflow. And can you see, folks, a big part of this work is activating the feeling and the frequency of I already have it and enjoying that while it comes into your 3D reality. Because there is a time lag. And if you have a crap relationship with time, you can be guaranteed that your impatience will be connected to some form of disappointment or lack of trust. You want it to come in now to know that you're a good person, to know that you've got it right, to know that you're loved, right? But as opposed to letting go and relaxing and trusting that if you have it here internally, the universe will gift it to you. A lot of the work that I do, folks, is actually about helping people trust their infinite intelligence inside of them. Because you can see, right, your human experience, and then you've got this whole field of working in the quantum, creating your desires, living in expansion, and then your human's like, it doesn't work. Or it doesn't work for me is really common. Works for other people, it doesn't work for me. It's bullshit. It works for everybody. But you have to be willing to let go of the rational mind and what the rational mind is telling you. You want to see the rational mind. Do you remember when I was younger, I think it was like a little monkey and he was like playing drums. It was a toy. It was just like boom, 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 boom. You kind of want to see your mind like a monkey that's just chatting away in the corner. Just because your mind is saying it doesn't mean that it's true. But this is the thing as well, why you need to be coded for limitlessness, why you need to be coded for overflow, because if you've been around somebody and they've told you something in terms of limiting you or limiting the money that you get to have, you need to make sure that you do not believe them. But often too, this is where we imprint our parents' money beliefs or the people that we grow up in, the environments that we're in, and then we think, this is just what's available for us. Whereas there are people like you and me, and this is what I teach my clients to do, right? Who are just jumping timelines. I'm not going to do that timeline anymore. I'm not going to do that belief system anymore. I'm going to jump into a whole new way of being, right? I'm going to code my field. Now, what you need to understand too, folks, about coding your field is energy is cumulative, right? People talk about bending reality. Can't actually bend reality. Reality is just reflecting to you who you are being all the time. That means your reality is a reflection of your frequency. Don't take that like I'm doing it wrong if you don't like your reality, but own it. Say, oh my God, this is the thing that's going to help me create a whole new reality. And this is the beautiful thing. Accountability can feel confronting sometimes. It's like, oh, okay, I've created this. Maybe I don't love it as much as I would like to, but I get to create this now. I don't have to wait. I don't have to, I have to code my field for it. I have to be the person who's bringing my attention and my focus and my thoughts and my beliefs in alignment with somebody who's living in a cash overflow. But that gets to be a lot of fun. It's way more joyful than living in scarcity and lack. Right? And oftentimes it's about giving yourself permission to maybe do something that your family's never done, to do something that maybe your friends aren't choosing, to do something where you're connecting with people who are like, yes, let's go, let's make this limitless. Let's make it easy for big money to come into your reality. Let's make it normal to have these experiences, right? To allow your, as we used to call it, your freak flag fly, in terms of, that there's so much more to you than just operating in this human 3D realm, that you're willing to access those supernatural frequencies and live a life where you are on a soul level deeply satisfied. If you're experiencing any level of dissatisfaction, folks, especially if you're a sacral authority in human design, because your thing is to be satisfied, right? So if you're experiencing frustration in any part of your reality, you want to be a person who's like, I am not available for this. I am raising the standard. Like, joy is the standard. Deep satisfaction is the standard. And literally tell reality, I'm not having anything less than that. And people can be like, whoa, oh, that's bold. Yeah, it is. But you're doing this all day, every day. You're telling reality what you get to have. So you want to tell reality, I want the best, thank you very much. I will do the internal calibration, the internal upgrade, the internal activation to match it. Because nothing's stopping me. In fact, I've already been doing that. I just haven't been doing it consciously. Now, why does this get tricky, folks? Why isn't it that you just can't think about it and you bring it about? Like, when you're aligned, you actually can. But remember, there's 3 planes. Spiritually, the version of you, I want you to think of a dollar number that you would be making per month that you think is outrageous. Right now in your head, what's an amount that you would be making every month? You're like, oh, whoa, amazing. Think of that number. There is a version of you who's already experiencing that. It's already been created, right? What you're doing right now by thinking about it is dialing into it. And guess what happens when you start dialing into it? Woo, what does it feel like? What does it feel like if I downloaded that file into my body and was living from that? Tell me in the comments. Hi, Jenny. 4, okay. Yeah, one of my goals is to be more curious. Never fails you, Michelle. Honestly, I attribute a lot of my success to curiosity, because I'm like, just the ability to ask yourself, is that true? Right? Is it true? Does it feel true in my body? Like, what part of me knows that that's true? To litmus test things. I've done this a lot in regards, I've talked about this before, right? And I highly encourage you guys to try these things. For example, what does it feel like to spend $3,000 and have it feel like $300? What does it feel like to spend $300 and have it feel like $30? Why? What's the thought process behind that? Is because we attribute meaning. We go, oh, $3,000 is this compared to 300. But you can collapse the meaning, yeah, and rearrange it, and it's so effective. It's actually allowed me to take bigger risks, right? To invest in myself more. Other things I've done is like, what would it take to be paid every day as an entrepreneur? I just did that as a litmus test for 2 weeks to see what would happen. I got paid 14 days out of 10. Sorry, 14 days, 10 days out of 14, right? So And that was amazing to me because I was like, oh my goodness, this is so much fun, right? Like I'm literally putting it into my field that it's easy for me to be paid on a daily basis. And now, guess what? I expect it, right? Not from a place of attachment, like it has to look like that, but from a place of like, well, I've done it before. Of course I can do it again, just by bringing my focus and attention to it. But the thing about what it gets tricky, folks, is where your subconscious, right? Like you're walking around going, yeah, I want to make more money. This is so fun. I want to live in overflow. I want the freedom, the joy, the choice, what I would do with that money, what it feels like to buy the house or do the trip or invest in yourself or invest in your business or grow and expand. Amazing. But then what happens is your subconscious is like running the show. And you know how the pictures of the subconscious is always like the iceberg's way bigger underneath the water. But the subconscious is like, but money's not safe, right? Because you saw all those times where mum and dad or step parents or whoever looked after you argued about it. Or maybe you had a circumstance where you worked like a dog and you had a boss who took advantage of you. Or, you know, when you haven't felt valued by money. So therefore, it doesn't show up in your field in a way that you enjoy, right? You're kind of suspicious of it. Great way to look at this is just to ask yourself this question and notice what comes to mind. I did it in the other group a while ago. Money is, fill in the blank. What comes forward immediately, just from your awareness? Money is what? Is money fun, easy, enjoyable, or is money a threat, dangerous, painful? You have to shift that relationship because you're not going to let it in. You're actually doing yourself a favor by not letting it in because you're like, whoa, that's dangerous. So I'm not going to let that come into my reality. You're protecting yourself. And you might be doing a really good job of protecting yourself. And the thing about money for people that can be highly activating is money comes back to value. And of course, we're super sensitive anyway about valuing ourselves. Like one of our deepest fears as human beings, right, is that we're not good enough. And then we look at the money and we feel sad because money's not showing up the way that we want. Or we feel like we're being punished because money's not showing up the way that we want. Or we feel trapped that money's not showing up the way that we want. And money is just literally responding to your frequency. And then you hear something like that and you feel like, oh God, right? Like it's all my fault, right? As opposed to being like, this is exactly what I needed to hear to step into a greater level of authority and shift who I'm being to step into more. Right? It is natural, folks, to desire more money. It is as natural as breathing. Because you want to live in expansion. Your soul demands it. Your soul purpose needs resources. And you and your gifts, skills, and talents, operating from your level of magic, all right, you are going to be fully resourced in that place. And you being in that place of being fully resourced, like I was talking about this in another container this morning, you living in bliss does everybody a favor. Let that land. Like you living in joy is beneficial for everybody. You living in expansion is beneficial for everybody. The people at the supermarket, the people that you interact with, the people that you work with, in your business, with your clients, right? It benefits everybody. You being in your gifts, skills, and talents, you being in frequencies that are uncommon. It is one of the best things you can do for the planet. I identified that a long time ago. If you want reality, you know, if you want the world to change, we must change ourselves. We must be a person who's focusing our attention on what it is that we want, not focusing our attention on what we don't want. Did you know, folks, all your suffering comes from focusing on what you don't want? You're literally focusing on what you don't want when you're suffering. You know, like you don't want somebody to be an arsehole. Let them do their thing, forgive them, and focus on what you want. Right? And again, we get so caught up in this, right? We get enmeshed, or we get, you know, like I feel bad that they feel bad. Their feeling is their feeling. We have to learn to focus our attention and take responsibility for our energy field and code the field with what it is that you want. So code your field is 2 weeks together, 4 calls, Telegram access. I'm going to show you what I do with my one-on-one clients. I'm going to show you what I do every morning to code my field for the reality that I want. Now, why does this work as opposed to something else? Because I'm going to show you how to access your subconscious, right? And if you're accessing your subconscious on a continuous basis, you're going to get your subconscious on board, get lined up through those 3 planes, spiritual, mental, and physical. You literally become a person who's unstoppable. Money literally can't deny you. You become an unstoppable force. And that's when you magnetize money, because you're literally in the energy of, I'm just not taking no for an answer. Reality is responding to me, so I get to have it. Right? And again, energy is cumulative, folks. If you're doing this consistently, I want you to think about if you sat down and coded your field for abundance every day, what your life might look like in a week, what your life might look like in a month, what your life might look like in 2 months. Right? Like when you're accessing the subconscious as well, you can move into alignment fast. And everybody knows what it feels like. This is what I love about the soul self. Your soul knows that you can manifest instantaneously. It knows because your soul, part of the spirit, your soul is personal to you. We're all connected in spirit. But spirit, of course you can manifest instantaneously. Jesus didn't turn up with 5,000 fishes and bread, right? He just was there, present, instantaneous. Here you go. Because he was connected with pure consciousness. He was connected with the infinite intelligence. He was connected to the energy of abundance. There was no separation. Now, often what happens for people is they have distortion in their energy field. They're not tuned in spiritually to that version of themselves. They're definitely not thinking that way about themselves. Because sometimes we have to get your self-esteem on board. So you're like, I actually know that I'm worthy of having this. Another big thing sometimes for people is to surrender. And I tell you what, folks, ironically, as an intuition coach who now really helps people with money, my journey of surrendering to the universe, at times it has been a battle, right? Like those feelings of needing it to do yourself, or anywhere you're being a perfectionist because you think that you need to get it right in order to be loved or in order to receive, that all has to go out the window, right? The universe is just observing you, putting all these rules and limitations on reality in order for you to receive. You don't need to do any of that. You can literally be yourself. However, there is a third plane, which is the movement, right? You have to be in movement. Money loves movement. Money loves momentum. If you're standing still, money can't really see you. And this is why becoming a person who's cultivated the courage to change and the courage to heal, because it does take courage, you become a person who has the courage to live an extraordinary life. Because you're in those frequencies of like, I will do what it takes. And sometimes that can bring up fear for humans, right? We need to know how to manage fear, our own ego, the part of us that's like, well, is this safe? But you know what's so amazing about living in these frequencies is you become a person who can move towards fear and it disappears. Right? As an entrepreneur, you will know all about this because you're always doing things that are kind of stretching you into new quantum fields. And that involves fear. But your relationship with fear, when you are more confident than fear, when you're willing to stretch yourself because you know that the fear is an illusion, when you're willing to bring love to fear, because that is the opposite, like love and fear are opposites. When you take action, you are demonstrating that you love yourself, and fear cannot stand in the presence of love. Right? You're the one who's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what it takes. And this is why, folks, in my first year in business, I made more money than I ever did in banking because I, to be fair, did not have all the clues. Like I didn't look at projections, I didn't have, cash flows, nothing. I had conviction and my self belief. And I would go to the universe and say, what's next? Because I was willing to move. Are you chasing your dreams down like it's the last bus of the night? Do you want to be with other people who are doing the same and supporting and encouraging each other to do that? You want to be in community with people who are choosing to be limitless is one of the fastest ways to expand your field because it feels safe because everybody else is doing it too. Right? They're like, yeah, I'm choosing to be limitless. Yeah, let's see what's possible. Yeah, let's defy reality and live in extraordinary frequencies and become a person who's just living from overflow because I'm choosing that. Sometimes, folks, this is, the deeper part of this works, the self-perception, the identity piece. How do you identify? Right? You want to get to a place where you identify as being rich and being okay with that. So many times people have reservations on the word rich, wealthy, even abundant, because they're like, is that going to make me a bad person? Not if you're led by God. Because yes, low frequency energy, devilish energy can definitely present when it comes to money. But this is why, if you're doing it consciously with your relationship with God, you're going to be in the right place. You're going to be able to navigate it. And remember, low frequency is the fear. Like fear keeps people stuck more than anything else, right? It keeps people immobile. They don't move because of fear, which really, and if you looked at it in a frequency way, means they're being controlled by low frequency energy. So I am sure you have all made moves to create a life that you want. You've applied for jobs, you've taken action, you've shown up, you've taken action steps. What you want to do is to do that on a whole quantum level when it comes to money. There is money out there waiting to come into your reality, folks. It is waiting for you to say yes to that timeline. It's waiting for you to say yes to that version of yourself. It's waiting for you to become that version of yourself. There is nothing stopping you. I know, no, right? It can be like, well, it's nothing stopping you except ourselves and who we're choosing to be. And being in containers where it's like, I'm choosing my own limitless nature. I'm choosing love over fear. I'm choosing movement over staying still. And again, the irony being, that is actually one of the components, is to be still so you can allow the universe to speak to you. So you can allow yourself to receive from the universe. So you can allow yourself to receive the enthusiasm, the codes, the energy, exactly what you need. A lot of times people are like, well, how? How do I do this, right? You listen to your inner voice, right? You listen to the God within. Guess what? The version of you who's created the money knows all the action steps. You can tune into that and you can literally receive it. But what happens for people is the subconscious, right? The subconscious is like, oh, no. We're just used to being this version of ourselves, so we'll just stay being this version. People don't understand that you naturally go to default. Not that many people are doing their life by design, but you're not one of those people, right? You're a person who's like, I'm not settling for mediocrity. I didn't come onto this planet and endure all this stuff for it to just be mediocre. You came to experience the extraordinary. You came to be a person who's ready to open up and activate your supernatural abilities to create beyond the rational mind. Like, this is why often when people work with me, you have to suspend the mind. The mind is like a freaking handbrake, folks. Like you're wanting to move forward, you're going to end up spinning your wheels and burning out. You're going to be like, why isn't this coming together for me? Because you have to get aligned and getting your subconscious on board. And if you're doing that every day, your life's going to change in the most powerful ways, right? Honoring self is a huge part of the process. So folks, if you're interested in Code Your Field, it's $333 US. There is even a payment plan. I will drop the link below. We start on Monday morning, right? So you're going to be held in this container. I'm going to show you exactly what it is that I do and why it works, right? You're going to shift your frequency. You're going to show up as a different person. You're going to have what you need in order to code your field every day, right? I want you to think about that number that you thought about. Doing this is going to bring that into your reality. You're going to get the awarenesses. You're going to be shown what you need to do in order to create it. Your awareness is going to show you. But often the work is to allow yourself permission to be that powerful. Allow yourself to be the person who literally has the answers. Because your awareness knows what's right for you. As an intuition coach, I am very, very aware of this and very respectful of the fact that the God within you knows way better than I do, right? Because God's the ultimate power. Your infinite intelligence can lead you into this timeline, but you have to cultivate your field to demonstrate to the universe, I want it, I'm having it, I will do what it takes, show me, right? This is what the process is in Code Your Field. So I'll drop the link below. How's everybody feeling? Are you feeling activated? Hey, Raylene, how are you, lovely? Let me have a look. Jenny, waking up every morning, wardrobe, house, hot shower, car to get me to work. Yes, overflow. And this is the thing. We don't often see it because we're not bringing our perspective to it because our perspective is in the wrong place. When you're a person who codes your field, you will have your perspective in the right place. You will drown out the noise. The noise is distraction, folks. People fighting on the internet, you know, like anywhere there is contrast, you have to be very aware of how your own ego and fear is responding to that. Because if you get hooked into it, boom, you're in the wrong place, right? You've taken and that's not bypassing, right? Like people are like, oh, but I need to be aware. It's kind of like, it's not serving you if you haven't dealt with the fear inside of yourself. If you can look at that and be without fear, then by all means. But if you look at that and you get activated, and most people don't even realize that they're getting activated because they think fear is normal. Most of the planet is living in fear frequencies and just think it's normal, as opposed to like, no, I'm an infinite being in a body. I take responsibility for where I place my focus. If I need to take care of something inside of myself and heal it so I can be neutral, I will do that first because that's an act of love towards myself. I can't contribute to a positive outcome by viewing something through fear. I have to come back to love. That is my gift to humanity, to shift myself so I can offer love frequencies. So powerful. Some say I can't afford a watch. It's $250. I just say, how many does work with that cost? Yes, might end up 2.5 days for some perspective. Absolutely. And there's a very different thing, folks, between getting yourself lined up and because often what happens in spirituality, I've seen this happen so many times, and I actually find it really repugnant, right? Where people do not find spirituality effective. That is not a God problem. That is an us problem. That is an alignment problem. That is a subconscious problem. I know what it's like to be the person who is like, this isn't working, right? Or I don't get this. Or why isn't this working, right? Because you haven't accessed the subconscious. Like, again, a mantra doesn't access the subconscious. Like changing a thought process doesn't change your subconscious. Knowing how to access the subconscious changes everything. And this is why you must learn to do this for yourself, which means that you're willing to see yourself, which means you're willing to love yourself, which means you're willing to offer yourself the very best. Like one of my favorite sayings, why drink beer when you can drink cognac? It is totally available to you, folks. But you have to learn how to align or else it's not going to land in your 3D. And this is what happens, right? I've seen people who are very spiritual, up in the ethers. I've seen people who are very much in their head, right? And I've seen people who take a lot of action And then these people wonder why they're not getting the outcomes they want, because they're not aligned. They're not tuned in, focused, and taking the action from that place. I can guarantee you right now, the version of you, insert the money goal that you thought of before, who already is making that kind of money per month, thinks differently than you and moves differently than you. And when you start thinking and moving as them, you're going to experience different outcomes. People often treat spirituality like frickin' entertainment. That's kind of like turning God into a game of Monopoly. No way, right? No way. You're not available for that. You're available for the frequency. You're available to align with abundance. You're available for having it land in your 3D reality. We are not here to play games that don't get you the outcome that you want. Spirituality, if it's not practical and actually creating outcomes in your 3D reality, there is either an incorrect understanding or a misapplication. That's it. Right? It always baffles me, right? Seeing people not creating the outcomes that they want because they don't understand. They think it's a nice idea, but they're not doing the deeper work of transformation to actually get the outcomes that they want. Right? You are already courageous. I know that, right? I know that because you're in my container, and there are no mistakes, folks. You attract people in a similar vibration. You attract people who are willing to do what it takes. All my clients have courage, right? All of them. They are willing to suspend their current reality and trade it in for something completely different on a higher frequency. So come and join us. Come and be in this container. Come and be in the vibration. Come and be in the limitless energy. Come and be a person that's going to calibrate over the next 2 weeks and see what's possible for yourself. Come into the container with a money goal, right? Be outrageous. Be audacious. The universe does not respond to you being polite. It responds to you being bold and certain. So bringing that energy and cultivating that, you're going to see amazing outcomes land in your 3D reality. Honestly, folks, there's so much fun in seeing somebody line up and things drop into their reality immediately, because it's totally possible. And you know that on a soul level. There is part of you that knows that you can manifest instantaneously when you are aligned. And that is usually a place where you're having a lot of fun, you're deeply relaxed, you're satisfied, and you're open. Yeah? So come and join us in Code Your Field. Like I said, we start on Monday. I'm super excited about it. I'll look forward to seeing those of you in there. Has anybody got any questions before we wrap up? I feel like that was a great transmission. Do you feel like overflow is available for you? Are you choosing it? Are you in the energy of like, oh, if I focus my attention on that, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to be in your money goal month after month after month, folks? What you might notice is you feel relaxed. Sometimes people feel even sleepy when they're tuning into it, because that's a sign that their body is relaxing. Who would you be? That is the question. That is the work of coding the field, to become the person who's an energetic match, to become the person who's willing to take action, because of course nothing can stop you, because you're having the time of your life, because it's joyous to create what it is that you want, that it gets to be so pleasurable to be this person who's creating these outcomes, that you're enjoying the journey and the destination, right? You're having the time of your life. That's the invitation. Biggest invitation really is to trust yourself. Trust yourself to know that it's possible for you. Trust yourself to know that the universe has really got your back. The universe is dialed into you, folks. Dialed in, right? There is no separation between you and the universe. You can't separate yourself out. The universe is beating your heart. That is overflow. The fact that it just keeps on beating, the fact that you keep on breathing, that is overflow. That is the energy of abundance. There's always going to be more in your human experience. So do come and join us. Alrighty, folks. Sending you so much love. So good to connect. Thanks for being here. I trust you have a fabulous weekend. I'm super excited. I'm doing a live event for Intuitive Mastery this weekend. So send us some blessings for that. We're going to have a fabulous time. Or facilitation, of course, is all about transformation. It takes courage to be seen and witnessed, but the transformations that occur are priceless. So I'm super excited about that. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope I see you in Code Your Field next week so you can learn what it is to calibrate to your money outcome that you wish to experience. I'm sending you all lots of love, everybody. Bye for now.